Hey, beautiful people. It is March the 15th, Ides of March at 1:04 p.m. Also Pi Day. That was 3.14, 9:56 in the morning, 9:26 in the morning, something like that. Anyway, I have been all over this town. It is a it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor, would you be mine? Would you be mine? I've been all over town looking for a spot to do a video, and all my favorite places are taken, which is great. I love it that so many people are out and about, and of course, if I like a spot, everybody else does. So I had to come find a new spot today. Anyway, it's a gorgeous day, and people are out and about everywhere, and I feel overdressed because I'm in a pair of Levi's today, and I should be in a pair of shorts, but it was just winter just a few weeks ago, and I'd left all my summer gear up in Tennessee because it was winter, and I guess I might have to go buy a pair of shorts. It's interesting we finally got internet at my family home, and I've been able to really get back in touch with a lot of people. I haven't been online much for since I guess it was September 1st of October when I was last online while I was in Panama City, and the several videos that I've done since, especially the one at New Year's, I said, man, this is going to be a year where second wave really wakes up and they begin their ascension process. And now that I've come back online, yes, as a matter of fact, that is a truth. And it's really cool to see too. A lot of these guys, these are a lot of the yoga practitioners, and I'm seeing some similar things with a lot of them who are just now waking up, and they're talking about raising their Kundalini and opening the chakras and trying to achieve that ultimate state of Shakti when you open your crown chakra. And that used to be back before 1992 when the planetary frequencies really began increasing. That was the limit of it. That was the ultimate of it. And many of us had achieved that, opening our chakras and going through that Kundalini rising way back then. But since 1992, see, harmonic convergence in 87 attuned or atoned or at one eyes the whole planet, and opening the 1111 doorway in January 1992 began the frequency increases of the planet. Harmonic convergence harmonized, balanced those energies, and the 1111 doorway opened it up so that the higher vibrations could come in, and Mother Earth began her ascension process way back then. And that was completed in December of 2012. But a lot of persons who study the old ways, they're following the teachings of those who had accomplished certain levels way back then. And although to get to those levels is still true, the ceiling has been lifted, and to get to that state of open chakras or Shakti, that's kindergarten now. A lot of persons might get upset when there's somebody like me who's a real nobody says something like that. But I went through my yoga processes in martial arts back when I was a teenager and in my 20s, and the same things that I learned back then, I practiced all along. I hear the dinging from a train. I'm right next to the railroad track, so this might get a little noisy. I don't know how this video is going to go. There it is. The train always confirms my messages. I mean, that's one of those weird little signs with me, and you've heard it in many videos where I've said, this is happening, and then the train blasts. it's always been a confirmation all my life, and it's really cool. I've always had this affinity for trains. So let's let this thing pass and see what we've got. Just a second. Trains. Anyway, I woke this morning reading Swami Beyondayanda's newest cosmic comic message, and it was the State of the Universe 2015, and I'll put a link to Swami Beyondayanda's newest post from Conscious Life News up under this one. I'll probably put his YouTube videos there, or his YouTube channel there too. He is just a hoot, and he does cosmic humor about the planetary and collective ascension, and that, you know, people have asked me for so long how to really go through the process of raising their vibration, and of course being in love is the highest state. But if you haven't got anybody to be in love with, finding that sacred space within your heart and just loving your life and loving who you are, loving self, really that's what ends up happening as you go through the process. See, that goes back to what I was saying about the Shakti. As you raise the Kundalini and you take it and you open all the chakras going all the way up, past the heart chakra, open the throat, open the third eye, open the brain, or the crown chakra. What you have to do, which is the key to ascension, which makes that raising of the Kundalini really the kindergartner state, is you have to bring it back into a spiral. It literally is a spiral as it's coming up your spine, hits your crown, and you've got to turn it back into the sacred spot within the heart. And you've got to know where that sacred spot is. And if you've ever been in love and you explore through meditation or consciousness where it is you're feeling that love feeling from, it's within a sacred spot it's like the heart within the heart. And once you activate your Kundalini, you have to spiral it back into that point. And then with each further initiation, what happens when you do that is you start feeling this most incredible bliss, and you start feeling the light, the power of your body. You activate your light body, and you start feeling that power coming out your hands. Really, you feel that power coming out your hands, just like Reiki, when you're going through your Kundalini activation, and even before. That's just projecting the consciousness and the divine spirit self of who we are. Some people are perceiving that it's coming from the outside of them, but really it is them. Whether it's coming from the outside of you or not, you're channeling yourself. And as you spiral the Kundalini back into that sacred spot within your heart, and your field activates, then that is the very beginning of the Ascension Mastery Path. That is the 5th initiation. The first initiation, you're really going through getting to know your physical vessel, and you're also wanting to get back in touch with your higher levels of self, or source, or God, or feeling a calling to return home. The second initiation is when it's a probationary period where you've got to hold that focus that you want to do this. And with that, the third initiation, you're starting to embody the soul, and that little flame that's in that sacred spot of the heart, it starts to expand and grow. In the fourth initiation, you're really having to devote yourself to spirit, and you've got to listen to spirit, and you start losing that intellectual ego side, because you have to surrender that, and you start having to deal with the consciousness, which is the field, and those inner messages. And those inner messages might tell you to do things that are mentally illogical. But when you start following that intuition and you start going down that path, everything shifts and changes. And that's really what we do as we're going through our ascension process, is we're having to surrender the ego. We're having to, as I said in my last video about Alexander Del Sal, he's a recovering intellectual. You have to give up the intellect to really expand into the consciousness, and the consciousness comes from the field. The consciousness is all that we are. That is the highest level, that is us, but we are bringing more of that into the physical vessel. We're allowing that divine side to work through us, and in order to allow that divine side to work through us, we have to allow wherever our intuition is telling us, wherever we're being guided to go, we have to follow that inner knowingness right there. And the return home, the initiation path, is just a greater expansion of following that inner wisdom, of reading the field, of communicating with that which we truly are. And it's a surrender. And it becomes very joyous. You find this bliss that you just never could have imagined is possible. And I used to call it a perpetual cosmic orgasm, because that's exactly what it is. But when you first shift, when the Kundalini rises and your crown activates and you bring it back into the sacred spot of the heart, and the heart chakra activates, that's just the beginning of that bliss. And there's no way, absolutely no way, that an individual can describe how that light and frequency feels within the field, how those sensations are. You can't describe it to another, and it's ever increasing. It doesn't stop there. That's only the beginning. And with each additional chakra you activate, then you're going to expand those levels of bliss. And then all those chakras expand 7 times till it's outside of your physical vessel. And those chakras are, you have your antichronal, which is that silver cord of the lifeline that comes from source through you, through all your various chakras, that's on that line, because there's more chakras outside that'll later activate, and it goes all the way through to earth. Now, in the 7th initiation, all those 7 chakras activated, expanding out of your body, which is 90 degrees to the antichronal, or that life cord, they go vertical, boom, and you have a whole nother. What happens is the ascension column is formed at that point, and you've activated the ascension chakra in the back of your brain. I think it's the medulla. I'm not even gonna go there, because the more I go through this process, the less those names and everything else matters, the less that time matters. You start losing time. You start formatting the computer, the intellect, all that. As you're expanding, that field is magnetics. And so is all the thoughts that is within the brain structure is also magnetics. And all that gets formatted as you're going through the process. You might have more memories of when you were a baby and a child than you do of yesterday or last week. And what's going on with the earth and the cosmos right now is part of the exact same thing. The Earth's magnetic shield, the magnetosphere, is collapsing, and as that magnetosphere collapses, then more of the magnetics coming in from the sun is coming through and causing this formatting, releasing those old memories and those old thought forms and that old patterning from our states of being. And it's happening to us as individuals, it's happening to us as a collective, it's happening to Mother Earth, it's happening to the whole cosmos. Everything is going through this process. Now, I was saying earlier about waking up to Swami Beyondayanda's newest on the state of the universe in 2015. Happiness and laughter is a byproduct, but if you can't find love you need. If you haven't learned to love yourself yet, then happiness and laughter and true joy, selfless joy, where you look at the whole world in amazement, that is one of the things that can help raise your vibration. As Matt Kahn said several months ago, celebration. Celebrating life, loving life, seeing the beauty, seeing things like all the azaleas are blooming here now. You see all the azaleas? All those beautiful lavender colored flowers. You give it a couple of weeks here in Ocean Springs and this place is going to be as colorful as it can be. I love the Bellingrath Gardens over in Mobile, which is a most incredible place. That is just full of azaleas over there. And if you've never been to Mobile, Alabama to see Bellingrath, go check that out sometime. At Christmas time or right now as the azaleas are blooming, it's just most magnificent. Celebration. Getting together and just loving life with yourself or with other people really helps to raise one's vibration. All of these things are part of the process, and there's no specific way for any one of us to tell another how to go through their ascension. Somebody had messaged me about my speaking in my last video about Ascension Initiations. Well, Ascension Initiations is the mechanical process of the transfiguration of the physical vessel. And that will happen the same to each and every one of us, whether you're realizing it or not. The reason why is because this physical vessel has to purge itself and fine-tune itself to hold ever greater light quotient and frequencies. You cannot just jump into the highest levels right off the bat, although you're waking up and you're having your Kundalini experience, or you've activated your heart chakra and you're going, oh God, this is heaven. This is what heaven's all about. Well, it is at that particular time, but it's a graduation and a stair-step process all the way through, because your body has to condition itself to hold more frequency, to hold more light, to expand into the higher levels of consciousness. And what you're doing is you're expanding, as you're holding more of who you are into this vessel. And there's a statement in the Bible that you can't look into the face of God, otherwise it would destroy you. It would burn you up. That's because the frequency is like electricity. It's amperage and voltage, and if you grab a hold of too much of it at one time, it's going to kill the physical vessel. That's why there's a graduation process, and that's what the Ascension Initiations are all about. That seventh initiation is when your antakarana and the chakras in relationship to the antakarana, it all goes vertical and the ascension column is formed. The eighth initiation, you go spherical, and that light blast out just below your root chakra all the way above your head, and you've got this very small sun that in your ninth initiation goes down below your feet to above your head, and from there on it's just a process of filling up that sphere, your auric field, because all these little chakras that's on the exterior of you is all lit up and you've gone spherical. What is happening at that point is you're just filling up your field with more and more light, and then you'll hit a point of light density and the frequency raises, and boom, you go into the next level. And then from then on after, it's just constant levels of expansion with more and more light and frequency. In my last video, I was talking about stepping into this newest initiation, and it's about magnetics. And what is really interesting to me as I am feeling and trying to perceive this new level of expansion, because that's all it is there is a definite difference between the sensations of magnetics and the sensations of light within my field. the magnetics is not polarized like the light. The magnetics is more like a raw energy that has not been given direction, but it's all swirling around in my field. Like I'm within this giant hurricane of energy that that hasn't yet been guided and directed into form, into doing something, into use of it, into creation. And that's probably the best way for me to describe it at this point. And I know I'm just beginning on these levels, and you know, I have no idea where it's going to take me from here. Because there is no one, those of us that are really going through this higher level, those of us that really started activating in 2009 and before, we're going through levels that of initiations and expansions that no other masters have gone through incarnate. We are going through this blind. We are going through this without any direction. We're having to feel our way through it. And it was really interesting to me in 2010, just after I had activated all 7 of my original chakras, to find Dr. Joshua Stone's work on the ascension process. And he had gone 10 years before me in the late 90s and early 2000s, and had written about his experiences, and all of his messages was a confirmation to me for the same experience that I've been having and describing. And then I read his books, and he's explaining the process of how he did it there and the sensations of it. And then I went, far out, I'm not alone, you know, I'm really on the right track. Well, he only got to the 7th initiation, and there's many of us that have way surpassed that now. And what we are describing, we're describing things that there's no map for. We're exploring the consciousness, and as we explore the consciousness and hold more and more light within our field and raise our frequencies ever farther, then we just fill it up, and boom, we expand into the next initiation and next levels. And just like notes on a piano or in an octave, you've got 7 different sub-levels to every octave, to every initiation. And then there's a lot within those octaves too. And it's just an ongoing process. So to my friend that wrote me a private message saying that she doesn't know about initiations and what that's all about, there's many of us that teach this. There's many of the sacred Native American grandmothers, or in Rita Melchizedek, or Joelle Cool, or Alice Bailey, or man, the list just goes on and on and on. Sandra Walter describes a lot of the process. There's a lot of us that describe it in very similar ways as far as the chakra activation, light body initiations, because that was what we knew and had taught, what we knew and had been through the ascension process in previous incarnations. There's a car pulling up right here. And through the mystery schools of the past, that was the way that it was taught. But part of that, it really stopped at the Kundalini arising, because when you shifted from the crown chakra, you raised the Kundalini of the crown chakra and you spiraled it back into the heart, at that point you cannot remain on planet. You would either drop body, or you would step through a dimensional doorway, or our space brothers would come get you and take you away. And we've seen, so, you know, there's previous masters in all the holy books where that process was described, where they just turned into a ball of light, or they arose like Christ through the clouds. They just turned into light and left, or they turned into a whirlwind like Enoch, and then God took him. He saw no death, and that's what it was all about, you know. But now we're doing all this while in physical form. And so, and everybody's doing it. And to watch the second wave really come online, is I've been able to be online more this past week to 2 weeks since we got internet. It's really cool to see. And a lot of them are just like where we were in the mid and early 2000s, and they're exploring, but they haven't yet found the answers. And that goes back to following your intuition, because when you finally are ready for your teacher's gonna appear. and it could be a human being like me, it could be a written message, it could be a bird or a squirrel, it could be telepathic communication, it could be ET intervention and extraterrestrials appearing in front of you. It could come in many different ways. And the whole kicker is not to close off or limit yourself, because in an expansion of the consciousness, you really have to remove your old belief systems. That's one of the biggest problems with yoga practitioners, is somebody might believe just in Kundalini yoga or this yoga or that yoga, and every yoga has a different message, a different training, a different understanding, and in a different belief system. And after a while, you have to look at and see Ascension. I mean, I'm discussing the yoga Ascension, or Ascension Yoga, right here. We're newly writing this one. And really all yoga is your connection to source or connection to God. But that which, that which was before the early 1990s really is still relevant, but it's limited. And you really have to unlimit your belief systems. Your belief systems cause you to be within a box and limitation, saying this is the right way and that's the way this master taught it, and I believe in that guru and I'm following him. And you really have to remove those limitations, because as you go through your process, you become your own teacher. And whenever you're ready to go to that next stage, and you have that desire in ascension and to go through the next stages, you have to decide that's what you want to do. Ascension is just not done to you. You actually have to go, you have to want to do it, because it's free will. Everything is free will. And if you don't want to go through your ascension process, you won't. And if you know about ascension or have heard about it, you have to call it forth. And then it is a process. It really is a process. It's a process of holding more light in the field, more frequency, a process of your chakras activating and expanding, and then it's a process of learning to become your own teacher and removing all those belief systems that other people that came before or other teachings in the mystery schools had brought forth, because all that is limited now. We're way past all that. Oh, man. And it's so much fun. It's such a blast. Well, anyway, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. My brothers want to do some cooking out. So does my mother, and everybody's on the beach, and everybody's at all my favorite places around. And I'm ready to go have a bit of fun with everybody. So I wish y'all well, and I love y'all. And I tell you, these energies, they're just incredible. They are getting more and more fine-tuned all the time. I am so grateful that it's happening the way it is. Yes, there are many people who aren't awake, and boy, can you feel them. I was pulling up to a red light the other day, and I could just feel this guy pulling his car up right next to me, and I was kind of trapped with the cars in front of me and behind me, and I could feel this guy's energies, and he had his is talk radio blasting about how the Christians need to go kill the Muslims. It's like, oh my God. That's one of the most difficult things about expanding your field, is because you can pick up on everybody before they even come into your field. You can read their thoughts. You can read their feelings. You can tell what vibration they hold. And that's not always the most comfortable thing to do, but it is part of the process. And learning to trust those feelings and learning to channel, because when somebody does that, their negative karma, their negative magnetics, because karma is magnetics, it transfers through my field and up and out, so that light can come in and go back to his field. And that's what those of us that are playing on these upper ends are supposed to be doing. But it is not an easy process. And sometimes I don't want to do that. I'd rather go to the woods, be away from everybody. And it's neat to be here in Ocean Springs and to feel everybody awakening and going through their process. And it's sure shifted since I got here a year ago right now. It was the spring equinox that I finally came home from Florida and came back to Ocean Springs, and I was feeling the awakening beginning then. Now it's in full swing, I mean. And it's great to see the people really, really just loving life and being in love, and to celebrate with their friends, and to just, it's almost like this place is in a little bubble. And a lot of what is shown in the news, which is really a false reality, trying to create a reality, a lot of these people just, that's not part of their life. And that is really, really, really cool. Now, there are a lot of people that is a part of their life, and we can certainly feel them. But our vibrations are removing those magnetics and the negativities, and we're altering the reality. And that's what this is all about. Our thoughts are creating our reality. And Rona Herman had a really good video, or not video, but Archangel Michael message this month about the light in our fields and our expansion. And I read Christine Mellerese's, she's another someone who teaches Joshua Stone's work, and she was talking about Joel Kuhl's listing of the process of initiation, but that was given to Alice Bailey back 60, 70 years ago. And again, now there's many of us that have way surpassed that level. But I'll put those links under this video for anybody who's interested in any other funny stuff that I find. And like Pi Day, that happened once in a century, and that was 3149265 or something like that. Anyway, 3311 is look now. I'm going to play with my brothers, my mama. Love y'all. Bye for now.